I have a question as a point of personal privilege that I guess I will ask to wrap things up. As certainly Mr. Von Haney knows, and I imagine those of you from out of town also know, kitty corner across the street here, we are about to do a do-over of our trial of former Governor Rod Blagojevich. Illinois has had a somewhat checkered, I guess I would say, history of problems with money in politics, money in judicial politics, primarily money in elective politics. And I'm wondering, since each of you, I feel, is a man of great personal integrity and representing corporations that take your corporate responsibility very, very seriously, if you could leave us with 30 seconds of advice in this state about how we start changing our political culture here.
Well,
and I'm going to do it, too. So I'm going to do it this afternoon, so, you know.
Yeah. Well, I guess I am the most Illinois-based, and I see that Don Clark-Netsch is here today, who, if we could embrace a political culture that she has for her entire career, then we wouldn't even have to have this conversation. I guess what I would say is that we really need to do it one brick at a time. We have lots and lots of policies and big things that we advocate, but it really requires the efforts of organizations like this. It requires rules about transparency. It's going to often be 2 steps up and 1 step back, and it's probably a journey rather than a destination. And we really just need to be vigilant about it. There is no recipe. There is only commitment.
Thank you.
I agree. It is going to take, I think it's a years and years project to do, but I think the underpinning of the entire thing is we have to stop forcing judges to act like politicians. We have to get money out of judicial elections. And however we do that, and there's several steps that we have to take to do it, but we cannot allow that branch of government to become the politicized branch of government that we already have. It has to be clear of that.
Any advice?
I'm the out-of-towner. And certainly, you know, I'm from New York City. We certainly have a very interesting and checkered history. As I said, politics is really interesting, and the judicial part of that, the third branch of government, is very, very interesting. I read a lot of history. I remember one of the great stories out of Boston was Mayor Curley. And in his last election campaign, he was charged and convicted of taking a civil service test for one of his friends. And his slogan that year was, he did it for a friend and he won re-election. So reform is difficult, but it's necessary, and I'll just finish with that.
I actually have some Illinois background in that I went to U of C and practiced there for my first 12 years. I remember Don Clark-Netsch and her reputation, which was already great back in the time I was practicing here. But I remember calls from George Ranney Sr. at Inland Steel as he tried to launch merit selection adoption in Illinois and spent many years attempting. So staying with the judicial for a little bit, strong recusal rules so the judiciary sort of says where they're at on this issue, and then trying to move to some form of merit selection, although that will take time and effort. And then more broadly, I wouldn't presume to say anything other than I think it helps to have a strong two-party system, at least, strong prosecutors. And I think ultimately we recognize that with all of the problems in this country, one of the many that we have to attend to is civics education and an understanding of what government is and should be.
Thank you for the advice. We will take it all under advisement and let you know how it goes. Let's hear it for a great panel.